Hey guys, it's Tom again. Today we're going to be looking at Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll from their fourth album. This was the, many say, the ultimate Led Zeppelin album. This is definitely one of the killer tracks from it. Maybe overshadowed by Stairway to Heaven, but this song is great on the blues rock guitar. There's a lot of cool things going on, especially in the layers. Let's take a look first at the rhythm guitar. And we've got this cool drum intro, and we have to make sure to rest on the first beat when the guitar actually enters. We've got a 1 da 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 da, and then that rest doesn't come back, I don't think, until we return to the top of the riff later on. So let's take a go at it. So what happens there in the intro is we're just taking this riff through a little blues progression. We're doing it on an A, and then we're moving into a D in bar 10, back to an A in bar 12, and finally to an E, and back to A as we wind up to the verse. There is another guitar happening here though, and this one's really interesting. If you came here from my YouTube Shorts feed, we talked about this already. But what happens is, as those blues riffs, those boogie woogie guitars are going on track 1, we've got the lead guitar doing shell voicings of 7th chords. We're going from A7 to D7 here. Then D back to A. That was A to E. And back to A. So that was a lot of trash I just talked there, but let's see what I mean when I say that those are A's, D's, and E's. Now these are not entire chords. These are shell voicings of dominant 7th chords. So picture, if you will, a C, then turn it into a C7 with your pinky going on to string G there. Then take that whole thing up to the 12th fret, where now it's an A7. And then take a look at string D and G. That's the notes we have there on screen. So that's the 3rd and the dominant 7th of an A. And when we move it 1 fret backwards, we can see those 2 notes are the dominant 7th and 3rd of a D, and the guitar on the other track is going from A to D. So we're just ushering that in, and when it goes back to A, we just step back up from our shell voicing D7 to our shell A7. And if this was D7, of course E7 is going to be over here on the other side of our A. So we get to move that straight up 1 fret, and we get our A to E, and then E back to A. So we've got a 3-chord progression going on, only staying in these few 3 frets, using what appear at first to be diminished power chords. We wouldn't pitch those necessarily as, oh, the basis of a really catchy song, but when they're tucked in just right here, they fit the song just great. I noticed they stayed off the 13th fret a little bit there. They did do it up here, but I've seen some tabs where it's just the dyads the whole way. Lots of little differences in the multitudes of tabs for this song. Lots of people have tried to do this song on the tab, partly because of the bendy nature of this note here. Some people just disagree with the tab so hard they want to make their own. So anyways, we're using this tab. When we get to the verse of this song, this is the other sort of blues-like structure that we're going to run through before we turn back to the main riff. So this is where we kick in with the famous, you know, long time since I rock and roll. That whole verse and that vocal melody begins here, and we're just doing, we're embellishing a G note a bit, but we're really just trying to land it to A. We're on A, and then bar 21, we're just recycling to do another round of A. So we've got 4 bars of A leading into 4 more bars of A. After that, it's time for the progression to do the blues thing and jump down to a D, and it just does exactly that. We take the chord we had here, a root fifth, we do it as a D, and then we grab this little extra guy here, but some tabs will show this as a pull off to open A, kind of up to the player, doesn't make a giant difference. But we're going from D back to A, and then instead of taking this whole move lower where we don't really have the string to do that move, we're going up high to an E, and then we're doing the old 6th chord shuffle move. And that's our D winding up, and it drops suddenly to or our E winding up. Then it drops to D, and we pause there. This is for a lonely, 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 lonely time. So this is kind of the chorus. It's just not really a chorus to speak of, but it's the hook or the end of the verse. Now when we do that big move there, you know, I teach a lot of students a lot of guitar, and this is one of those moves that people always come to me saying, I tried to learn this and I just about broke my hand. How does anyone do this? Here's the real trick. Put your middle finger in the middle. If I have to hold 9 and 7 and 11, I don't want to come at it from a little bit behind the 7 and then reach out to the 9 and then have to really, oh my God, reach out to the 11 there. It's just strainful. My middle finger doesn't really want to go left or right, doesn't want to bend that way much when I'm playing guitar. So I'm going to set it right in the middle on the 9th fret, and I'll put the pressure on my pointer finger to reach back, and there we've got a power chord. There's our 7-9-9 chord we see on screen, done with the first 2 fingers. And then if we position it so the pinky finger is ready to just drop in on its one note, then that doesn't have to be as hard of a position to maintain. So that's what's going on with the rhythm riffs to the tune. And then let's see, I think that's everything we have until we get to the pre-solo, or they list it here as the solo, but there's kind of 2 halves to the solo. We are going to take the intro riff here is going to get interspersed with, oh yeah, that's right, we come out of the verse, we kind of hit it like it's the intro, and then we move into this. Let's watch and listen from rhythm guitar here. So there, we lost, I forgot to go to the E there, but what happens is as we're running the intro riff, the lead guitar shifts from doing these little rhythmic shots to doing this little phrase. This is another one that I've seen done a few different ways. Sometimes I just see it with an extra on the end of the note. I think Page might have played it a few different ways in a few different famous live cuts, so there's a lot of dithering on exactly how to do this part, especially since we have to cut it back over to the rhythm riff and make it sound smooth. So to get that, like to do is use the ring finger to do a slight slide back. And that gives me a moment of connectedness to decide if I'm going to land on my A or if I'm going to drop down to D or over to E. So we can connect the two riffs easily if we think of that as our little move to get from point A to point B. Then we return to, oh yeah, that's right, we have the solo is occurring on the other guitar. That's where it is. So let's take a look at this solo here. We've got probably a speed training thing ahead of us because we've got some licks here that we don't want to rush through, especially if they're new to us. Another point on this solo, I'm going to bring it down in speed here. The opening bars, first 6 or 8 bars of the solo, I've seen them also tabbed many different ways. I think this has to do with the fact that it's kind of low in the mix. It's very riffy, and the bass is also gunning along on the low note, and the song is going fast. And like I say, this particular part doesn't pop out of the mix the way that the second half of the solo tends to. So we're going to learn the moves up here, and what I think we want to focus on is just keeping the moves on the beat, because I see a lot of beat separation going on the way that these licks are put together. So let's bring our slider down to about a third speed. So we're going to do the whole thing from 1/3 speed and bring it up. We'll try to do one take on each level or so. We might speed train some of the moves if we need to. Here we go. Oh yeah, that's slow. So that was at slow motion. I got caught a little bit flat-footed right about here. Honestly, I'm used to playing this riff a lot faster. It's one of those ones I have banked in memory. Slowing it down like that feels a little bit strange. So that'll probably get nicer just by the time we speed it up. Other things I noticed, very beat-based. 4 EN, 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 E, 4 EN, da 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 da. We have a lot of separation of phrases along the strong beats. Then working our way up here, we've got here clearly is just a little moment of transition moving along the fretboard to get to this new spot at the 5th and 7th frets. We see also the introduction of this great moving lick as we're changing to D. So as the band is coming up to the D note, I believe in bar 86, let's just take a quick check there on the bass. Yeah, 86. So by the time we get to bar 86, we're supposed to be on a D. Where's my lead guitar? There we go. And sure enough, that lick fits nicely over a D. It's in key there. But the move up thing we have going on here is we're just setting up a 4-finger pattern, or 4-finger shape. There's a few suggested bass notes here that seem to break the pattern. Now, as I've said many times so far in this video, there's a lot of debate over what exact notes are played in some of these licks. I've seen this one done as the 12th fret pushed up to a 2 bend instead of a 1.5. I've also seen this done not just as 4E and 1E and, but as a triplet. Now, that's a little bit faster playing, but still could fit. So, player's choice on licks like this. The main thing we want to have here is we want to have a solid sound of the notes we do play, and we want to have steady motion. And there I went one note too far at that last moment here. And so we're going to go back, we're going to do another couple of runs here. And hang on one second here, guys. Sorry about that. Urgent message. So we've got our speed. We're going to go up here. We're going to go up to about 44, 43% or so, wherever the slider falls. And let's cut it in. Felt a little steadier at the 43% there. So things we notice in this run through, I did take notice here, we're on the E chord at this point, and he's making sure to grab a C sharp there, just sort of a majory sounding note that works pretty nice over that particular chord. Let's make sure I'm not telling lies. Yeah, we're on the E there, that's what I thought. So besides that, let's just continue our speed increase here. I think we're going steady by up in 10% every time. again, this one here in 94, that's also one of those Jimmy Page notes. Still an okay note in the key, but just seems like we're really working to get that C sharp to sound like it's got some expression on it. So here we're bending from a B up to a C sharp. And let's get back here. Let me get back. And we're going to try this one right at 2/3 speed. And I noticed things got a little bit slippery around here. Let's see if that if we can focus better on that this time. Okay, that was feeling better. A couple things I noticed here at this speed is this starts to feel like we want to put a 5th fret before the 8th fret, even if it's just a slight tiny one like a ghost note or something. Yeah, feels like we want to have that in there. And then I was going to mention this bend as well. Just important when we do one like this. We want to make sure that we're getting enough meat on the strings there. It can be tough to get in there, and you don't want to try and do it with your first 2 fingers. Definitely think of it like you're taking these 2 guys from a G, or maybe even these. But we want to make sure that we've got enough control, and the pointer finger and middle finger tend to feel pretty sloppy on that, at least for me. Let's go 75% here. Middle fingers. Okay, so I just landed that note there funny. Played it really weak. That seems like a one-off though, not so much a misunderstanding. Here in this big bend, I was using my 2 middle fingers. That's what it works out to be, at least when I play it naturally. Also, I should point out, I'm really feeling bending the 12th fret here a little further instead of doing the 13th fret. Now this works great on my guitar because I've got 8 gauge strings, 0.008 of an inch on my little string, and it's just a light, super light set of strings, which allows for all this Jimmy Page kind of fooling around with these really big dramatic bends, and you can really get some expression and vibrato in the light strings while you're bending. I believe that's one of the secrets to his playing, is using light strings and playing hard. Now we've got 75% here. Let's bring it up again. 84. Okay, I think I slopped it up a bit here in bar 94, mainly because I was not ready for that 6th fret. I was just thinking about something else. Let's bump it up slowly here. We're going to go 91 before we try to summit the mountain, shall we say. Okay. That's definitely, I'm starting to feel the speed, feel the burn of the speed there at about 90. You know what? Let's just fling it at full speed, see how we do. We're almost out of this song, guys. Oh, okay, that's a little bit, that's too sloppy even for my taste. Let's do that again. Focus up a little better. Well, that was at 100, but I don't know if that was at 100%. You know what I mean? Why don't we take a quick look at runtime here? What are we even at? Yeah, we're getting up there. So I think that's my take on this song. Let's just go see if we have any other lead guitar business at the end. We have this little outro thing after the drum outro. Take a quick listen here. Let's get the drum outro in there too. Okay, so hey, let's jump back down there for a sec. Just a little closing lick. Something like that. Now, in live performances, they would just run the minor scale as the drums came to a big crashing end. But here we have a short one. Something along those lines. It's really kind of just a throwaway phrase at the end of the song. So, that's our look at Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Subscribe, like the channel, interact with me in any way that you feel is appropriate. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.